they finally got in Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker. I mean, I don't think I need to go in the description of this, but for those of you who have been living under a rock, House Speaker is really not supposed to be this tenuous pins and needles type of vote. Basically, it's something that's preordained. The party already knows who their leader is going to be, and everybody just falls in line so they can get about the real business and fight the real battles that are supposed to happen over the next 2 years. Well, there's a group of people in the Republican Party in the House of Representatives who decided that this was the time and place to make a stand, who basically felt like Kevin McCarthy, he does not stand for what this current form of conservatives and Republicans are supposed to be about, that he was not going to stand on the issues that they really were important to them. And there's probably some self-serving that's a part of this as well, where Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert and some of these other people, they're expecting certain committee appointments and a certain level of respect and a certain level of consideration of their opinions. And they felt like they were not going to get that from Kevin McCarthy. And so they decided, you know what? We're not going to vote for you. And on because the Republicans had such a slim majority in the House, they did not have enough votes to get in Kevin McCarthy without the assistance of some of these political insurrectionists. And Democrats, to their credit, I'm really happy about the way the Democrats handled this. So many times it seems like Democrats are trying to bail out Republicans or provide cover for the complete disarray Republicans are in. But this time they gave them the rope to let them be able to hang themselves, and it worked out beautifully on a global level. Their complete inadequacies were on pure display for the entire world to see. So none of the Democrats assisted with the Republicans voting for their speaker, and consequently, the vote failed multiple times to the point that the Democrats' own nominee for speaker, Hakeem Jeffries, received the majority of the votes multiple times. In fact, I think he won all 14 votes until Kevin McCarthy was finally able to get over the finish line at the very, very end. Hudson, what are your thoughts?
I have a different perspective on the Democrats and all of that. You know, on the surface, it's a power struggle, right, within the party, and to me, it's an evolving of the party, of the Republican Party, where you got a faction just trying to take over.
Hmm.
You know, I forwarded you an article from from a from that Democrat in Ohio, right, where she talked about how the Democrats are forgetting about the Midwest. They're
Okay.
just totally forgetting about the Midwest, and not even, all their concerns lie in like California, those water states and all of that on the outside as opposed to the inside. And this is where a lot of the Republicans are gaining steam on the inside and
Okay.
working themselves out. So what I see in my mind is a group of extreme Republicans who said we want more power within the party, we want more power within Congress, period,
Hmm.
right? And now they have found a way to insert themselves and assert their power, because one of the big things they did, right, was to get McCarthy to agree that you can nominate the speaker to take him out of the role of speaker with just one person. One person can call a vote now.
Which is insane.
Insane.
Hmm.
You know, that is the definition of extremism right there, is what they just brought. Not two, not five, not one. One disgruntled congressman can come
Yeah.
up and say, "Hey, we think we need a new speaker. Let's call a vote."
So
You know,
basically, if Matt Gates doesn't like anything that's going on, hey, you're up out of there. You better
right?
do everything I tell you to. Yeah,
And
I
with
agree.
each vote, no matter how solid you think you are, even if you win every one of those votes, it's like when you do I make lots of comparisons to the police. It's like when you as a citizen file a complaint on a police officer. These keep piling up.
Hmm.
Complaint after complaint. And that's essentially what each vote would be, a complaint against the
Hmm.
speaker, piling up, piling up, piling up. And
Hmm.
so for me, I think this is leading us down the road of more extreme Republicans trying to take over. And because of this, they have garnered more power within the system, right?
Hmm.
Heck, you even had Trump calling in, trying to negotiate getting more power for these extremist Republicans or whatever to try to ease this thing through, right?
Yep.
So when I sit and I hear, I hear this is something Democrats like Bernie Sanders, like AOC, like when we want this universal health care, when we want these certain things, it sounds like these so-called extreme Democrats should have got together and said, because let's be real, they had 20 votes at one point
Right.
against McCarthy, right?
Hmm.
There ain't never, it's been a long time since it's been that much of a difference between Republicans and Democrats where 20 votes
It's
wouldn't
going
have
to make
swayed
or
it.
break it. Yep.
Right. So for them to garner that many votes, right? And we went through this wave when all these protests were going on, where we were trying to get more again radical Democrats into office because of all these protests, because all these things we wanted, like all this equal, and Democrats tried so hard to close ranks
Hmm.
and keep themselves less radical, right?
Hmm.
So to me, this is a point where I don't think Democrats wanted this at all. And to me, as a Democrat, I'm thinking maybe we should do this, vote for McCarthy, and let's end that power that the radical Republicans have. And I get it. You don't want to look like you're doing anything on the Republican side. You don't want to look like that. But on the other hand, you just let the radical Republicans just kind of bully McCarthy into whatever. We don't know how much McCarthy ended up giving up to make
Hmm.
this thing work,
Hmm.
especially in that last 5 minutes when Gates finally came down and said, all right, you got my vote.
Yep.
What the hell did he offer him then? And I'd be scared of that. I would
So
be absolutely scared of that.
I'm not scared of it at all because the fact of the matter is the Republican Party is ruled by money, and money requires order. They require structure. They need things to be in an ordered and structured way for the money to keep flowing. Money does not want Matt Gaetz in charge. And what money has been able to do since he's been in office, since Lauren has been in office, since all of these cycles have been in office, is to be able to say, well, there are still these people in place that are going to keep some of that structure that we require so that the money will continue to flow. And what we have just witnessed on TV is showing in clear HD for the entire country is that the inmates are running the asylum. There is no order. There is no structure. There is nothing of what has previously been there that is actually in power and in control. And Kevin McCarthy got in the situation that he's in right now because he spent years basically trying to work with these people, trying to help them, trying to show that he was one of them, trying to show that, hey, guys, we can all get this together. Like you're treating McCarthy like he's really on the outside. And now these extremists have kind of just taken over, when in reality, he basically tried to present himself as one of the fellas. And hey, y'all should all get behind me because really I'm one of him. I'm one of you. So it's not like if he has just been able to easily get into the speakership, we can say, oh, yeah, there's really an adult in charge. So to me, battle lines have been drawn. If you are conservative and you're in the and you side with the Republican Party and you want an orderly, functioning Republican Party that can continue to deliver tax breaks and everything that the rich needs in order to keep that money flowing the direction they want it to be flowing, this absolutely terrifies you, disgusts you, and the money, I feel like, is going to start speaking up and saying some of these people cannot be in power anymore. Some of these people cannot be in control anymore. And I absolutely do not believe that this is a situation where progressives should have stood up, bonded together, and tried to use their vote to stand against the extremists. All you would have done is put another extremist in power. There is a case to be made that when Nancy Pelosi's vote for speakership was up, there are a lot of people who felt like progressives then should have used their power to push for Medicare for all. That was the force the vote movement, where
Hmm.
basically they felt like all progressives should be banding together, stand against Nancy Pelosi, and force Medicare for all. I don't understand the dynamics of that time and place and that decision to make a case about whether or not they should have done it then. It's very possible that maybe they should have. I definitely don't believe they should have done it now. There's no win. There's no win. You're already not going to have a lot of public support because there's just a whole bunch of people who don't believe in doing anything for the poor. But if you do it in a way that pretty clearly hands some measure of power to Republicans, you're going to destroy any chance of positive public sentiment. And you need at least some in order to be able to do this properly. This was not the time to band together and display your power. And there will be plenty of opportunities over these next 2 years to do exactly that and push for progressive policies that are actually going to help people without essentially defeating yourself.
If I felt like that they were going to push for those progressive policies, great. I just feel like it's nothing from them
Mm-hmm.
over the past year. So this doesn't seem like any strategic move to me, other than
Mm-hmm.
just a doing nothing again. So for me, it's. I mean, if they, yes, they could take advantage of this situation again. They absolutely could.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. They're not. And
I
I just don't
disagree.
see it where the constant infighting between them
Mm-hmm.
is going to help us in any way.
I disagree, and the reason why I disagree is that um, I think the general overriding sentiment is that Biden is not going to run again for president, and that
Hmm.
somebody for the Democratic Party is going to have to step up. I also think the overriding sentiment in the Democratic Party is that Kamala Harris is not a competent politician, and that
Hmm.
she's had a series of of self of her own mistakes, unforced errors, where she's basically harmed herself politically without anybody else having to put her in that position or do it for her. And so, therefore, who is going to be the next person to basically stand at the head of the ship is wide open. Bernie Sanders, I feel like, has killed most of his most of the positive goodwill he had with the progressive movement from the standpoint of him actually being president. He's still looked at as like the originator of this pro-progressive movement. Everyone appreciates what he's done, blah, 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 blah. But as far as him being able to run for president and garner the type of support necessary to put him in that role, I think that's dead. I think there's nobody who really believes in him like that anymore. So the obvious clear successor to that legacy is AOC. Big problem. What has AOC done to prove that she can actually be president? What has AOC done to prove that she can actually get anything done? I'm a progressive. I wanted Bernie Sanders to win. I've supported Bernie Sanders all that time. I see AOC as a person who believes in a lot of the same things that Bernie Sanders does. I see no reason to vote for AOC for president whatsoever. So my thinking is that she's going to spend this next year and a half, 2 years, whatever, doing everything in our power with whatever resources she has to prove I'm someone who's going to get things done. I'm someone who's going to push the type of policies that you all want to see. I'm the person that you all should trust. She can't really just coast her way to the presidency and then make a bunch of speeches and get on in. Nobody really believes that she's capable of doing anything. And so that's what makes me feel like she's going to be reaching out to the squad. She's going to be reaching out to these other 20 members and saying, now is the time where we really have to fight for the things that we say we stand on. But because we have to prove that somebody like us should be allowed to get to the top level of power. Otherwise, it's just not happening.
I mean, I hope they can figure that out. I just don't see a path for AOC in this
Hmm.
next. I don't see the path. I saw the path for Obama.
Hmm.
I saw a slim path for Bernie. He didn't take it.
Right.
You know, I of course saw the path for Hillary. It should have been an easy path. She didn't
Come
take
on
it at
now.
all.
Come on
You
now.
know, and it's just AOC. I don't see the path,
Hmm.
unfortunately. I would love to see an AOC presidency. You
She's
know,
got to. She's got to make the path.
she's
That's
got to
just
make the
that's
path.
reinforces. She's got work to do.
You know,
She's got work to do.
and again, I just don't. You know the. We've reached a point where we've seen nothing out of Congress unless it involves a bill to help a foreign country, where it
Hmm.
involves maybe a bill to help when we have a natural disaster somewhere.
Right.
Let's be real. We haven't seen much out of Congress. We haven't seen an amendment to the Constitution since 1992.
Hmm.
We have seen jack off from Congress for I don't know how long.
Hmm.
It's just been this tug of war forever, and no one's and no one's really making a dent to change this tug of war. And
Absolutely
and
not.
and to me, this has been the almost to me the first real time out in the open, out completely in the open and in public for the world to see, where someone tried to add another rope to the tug of war. you
Hmm.
know, it was a short rope. They didn't have many people on it, but those people proved powerful in that moment.
Hmm.
You know, and they gave notice to McCarthy that you do anything we don't like,
Yeah.
and we're going to use that again and
Hmm.
again whenever we want.
Hmm.
You know, so I don't have much confidence, of course, in this Congress coming out with anything,
Hmm.
that's remotely of any use to any of us. And it's a shame because our country, in a lot of ways, is stuck back in the 90s.
Hmm.
It really is. We haven't made any meaningful push, with same sex marriage. That's going to be right back to where it started very
Hmm.
quickly. As soon as the Supreme Court goes ahead and goes back to it, they're about to. They
Yeah.
already took us back on abortion,
Hmm.
right? So all that
To
progress
be,
that was basically done in the Supreme Court is
yeah.
being about to be undone.
To see, to be honest with you, to me, that's the path that I see for AOC. I feel like there's a whole lot of young people and progressive people who were not motivated to vote when Bernie Sanders was running, who he couldn't get these people out of bed, couldn't get them in the lines, who are absolutely incensed that Roe v. Wade was overturned. And I think there's going to be, honestly, way even more people absolutely incensed if they're able to successfully overturn same-sex marriage. And I think it's going to really open the doors for a much more progressive way of thinking when it comes to who's running our country for the next 4 years. And I think that's the path. Even though, really, you're right. The squad, the progressives, have not banded together. They have not stood against Nancy Pelosi. They haven't stood against, honestly, as much as I appreciate seeing a brother up there getting all these accolades and being talked about as the next speaker. Hakeem Jeffries is known for being very anti-progressive. He's known for standing against a lot of the policies that are garnered around that revolve around helping the poor. So I don't necessarily consider him like a friend of the black community. Like he's really a couple of steps away from old boy in the Republican Party who stands on anti-black on everything. But like I feel like doors are opening. Doors are opening to a way of thinking that we didn't really have beforehand, and it's because the inmates are running the asylum and they're winning. Like that's the thing. If you mitigated that if you said, all right, let's figure out how to cover this up and make it seem not as bad as it actually is, then what happens is a whole lot of people who would have fought against that if they had seen it for what it is don't feel the need to fight. So a lot of people, they sit at home, they don't bother to vote, they don't bother to get involved because from what they see, it's really not that bad. I think it's time for the American people to see how bad things are. I think they should see exactly what's going on with the Republican Party. I think they should see Gates exactly for who he is. I think they should see what the leadership, what is happening in our Congress, in our government. And then they have to make a decision. Are you going to stand on the sidelines and allow that to happen? I do not believe in any way, shape, form, or fashion we should be trying to mitigate that or trying to, hey, let's figure out how to make it a little bit better. No, 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 no. I like the way this worked out. Put it out on Front Street. This is what our government is. Vote, vote,
Hey, you
or
know,
don't complain.
well, and here's the informational part about it. AOC, if she gets the presidency, that's great. Now, here's the real deal, though. If you want same-sex marriage,
Uh-huh.
if you want the right to an abortion, you need 67 senators. You need 2/3 of the House, however many that is, right? That means you need 67 senators and 2/3 of the House that believe abortion should be legal, that believe same-sex marriage should be illegal.
Yep.
Then you need 3/4 of state legislatures. So when we talk about rolling out the vote, rolling out the mat and voting,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everyone has to realize how much your vote counts in every district, in every state, in every city in this country. How much your vote matters, not just for the presidency, but for your state legislature, for your Congress. All of that matters.